So to create something that can bend, there's a few different ways you can do it, but the easiest is just using a bend deformer. So let's say we need to create a notepad object. So I'm going to create a cube here, and this is going to be our notepad. So let's make it a little bit thinner. I'm also going to make it just a little bit bigger here, and let's just make it a little thicker. Okay. So what do we need in order to get a deformer to work? Well, the first thing we need is detail. If you don't have enough detail in an object, so you can see right now there's just no detail, you can't bend it. So for example, without going into a deformer, if I take the vertices up here and try to bend this in half, I can't, because I don't have enough visual detail, or I should say geometrical detail in here to do so. I need to add more geometry, more faces, more edges. So an easy way to do this is I'm just going to go into the inputs of the object here and increase the subdivisions. So let's just go to 2 for now. So we increase the detail. Now, if I take these vertices, I can add a bend. So the more detail you have, the more you can adjust things and get these nice bends. Now, we don't want to go too far, or else you're just going to be crazy and slow things down. So I don't want to go like 100 like this. That's a little crazy there, but we can increase it a little bit. So let's go maybe 20 should be fine. Now, we don't need nearly as much in here, so I can tone that down as well. So the height, maybe just set that to, let's put it to 2, just in case I want to get some bending detail in there. And yeah, that should be good. So we've got that. Now this is still a lot of detail. Honestly, I could probably cut this in half, more like that. You want to have an amount of detail that will allow you to get the bends you want, but not so much that it's going to be super complex. Again, the more you have, the more it slows it down. And the nice thing is that you can always soften an object. So for example, let's say I want to bend this here. So I take this, I'll turn on soft select, which is the B key, and we'll just do this. So you'll notice that the object, hey, I can bend it and I can shape it, but we're still getting these hard edges right there. You can see that this is called nickeling. When you see this edge, 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 it's based on the American nickel, which has straight edges to it instead of a circle. So you get that. Well, I don't have to up my detail. I can just increase, or I set this to high res mode. So if I take this object and hit 3 on the keyboard, now it's all soft and we get that nice clean line. So we don't need a ton of detail. We just need enough detail. Even what I have here, I would say is probably too high. So not 50, I wanted 5. That's a little too low. Let's go 8. Now, again, I would recommend going a little too high than a little too low. That's always better. Just don't go like crazy amounts. So we've got this here. Now I need to bend it. What's the best way to bend it? Well, I could do a whole joint system and skin it and all of this stuff. That'll be great. But honestly, I just really want a quick object that I can lift up and have someone shake it and it just flaps around. That's it. That's all I need. I don't need more than that. So let's try to keep it as simple as possible. Well, first thing I'm going to do, and this is just good whenever you're doing any rigging, modeling, stuff like that, is once you have the object set the way you want, so I've got the amount of detail I need and it's the right size, always go to Modify, Freeze Transformations. This will reset your translations and scales and rotations to a zeroed out state. So now this object technically isn't scaled, it is just this size. And then go to Edit, Delete by Type, History. That gets rid of all the history, also as well as your inputs. This makes it so that you can, you don't have to worry about the history of the object messing things up with the bend deformers. Sometimes that can happen depending on how much construction your history you have. So we've got that. Now let's actually start going into the deformers. So you can get this in the animation menu set as well as the rigging menu set. You want to look into the deform menu right here. And there's a lot of different deformations we can do. You've got blend shapes, clusters, lattices, proximity wrap, wraps, shrink wraps, all these things. Well, these are all different ways of morphing an object, but not really animating each one individually. We want to just be able to bend this very quickly, very easily. For those types of deformers, the bends, the twists, things like that, look into the non-linear section. So here you have bend, flare, sine, twist, squash. Great, well, bend. Hey, that's what we're looking for. So I'm going to go in here and I'm just going to have the object selected and go to non-linear, bend, right there. And with this, we get a line. Well, it's a line, yay. So what you can do now, or what this line is basically your bending line, the direction that the object will bend. And if you select this, you'll notice that you have your bend attributes right in here. So we'll go over each one in just a little bit, but the big thing to watch out for is your curvature. This is what's actually going to cause this to bend. And right now, it's not working because it's bending in the wrong direction. You can see it's bending along this axis right here. So what I need to do is I need to take my bend line and I'm just going to rotate it right there so that the bend line folds this way. There you go. Now I've got a little flappy piece of paper. Haha! That's pretty much it. That's the basics of a deformer like this, is just add it, rotate in the right direction, and you're good. Now there's a few things to watch out for. One, like I was saying before, is you can see that we're getting that nickeling, those sharp edges. Once again, all we need to do is soften the object up. You're going to get those nice smooth lines. Now you'll notice that the edges are a little bit weirdly like too soft. If that's the case, just make sure to bevel those edges. I'm not going to worry about that right now. So with this, we've got that bend line, but there are some things that we have to watch out for. One is if we move the object, you can see that, well, weird things are happening now. So if you wanted this object to move with the character's hand, suddenly not going to be so easy. If I move the bend line, we're getting this. If I move them both together, strangeness. So how do we get this to move all as one unit? Well, you just group it. So I took both objects here, the cube and the bend line, selected them both, added them to a group, and now I'm going to animate the group like that. Or if you want to rig it, what you would end up doing is creating a NURB circle right there, like so. Let's modify freeze transformation, and then I can parent both of these under the NURB circle. And now I can just take that NURB circle and move it around, get it constrained, done. Essentially what's happening and why it's kind of moving in weird ways is it's trying to keep the relationship between the bend handle and the actual geometry. And when one of those gets offset from the other, it's trying to calculate, it's trying to create this bend shape. Even though we're just seeing this line, it's kind of a bigger, omnipresent bend deformer that's being placed on the entire object. So as long as those are kept in sync with each other, everything's fine. Now, how do we get this to bend in the right way? So in the scene that you're asking for, you've got the character. Do I have a piece of paper that I thought I had a notepad on my desk for the longest time. I've got a big one. Okay, we're going big notepad here. So we've got a big notepad. If your character is holding this, you want it to bend from the corner and bend like so. It shouldn't be bending like this in the middle. if he's holding it from the corner. So how do we do that? How do we get it so the character can pick this up and shake it, but it doesn't bend weirdly in the center like this? So this is where your attributes will come in. So what are these attributes? Well, envelop is going to be the strength of the deformer. How much does it apply? So if I set this to 0, the bend deformer is off. If I set this to 1, it's on. That's basically it's the strength of the deformer. Curvature. How much is going to curve? Pretty much self-explanatory. Now, we have high bound and low bound. Essentially what this does is it changes where that bend is going to start from or end from. So it goes from the center here, and I can make it so it's a little shorter here, maybe like this. And now you'll see I get more of a book, like a hardcover book. Where as it bends, we get this sharper edge right there. If I increase or decrease that, I can change how far it bends. So that's basically it. But how do we get it to only bend one side? Well, just move the bend deformer. Whoop, right there. So I want that center line to be right on the edge here. So I can snap this using the V key. I'll just snap it and middle mouse drag right there. And now when I take that curvature, there we go. I could even take this and move it into the corner here and rotate it this way. And now it's going to bend like so. So you can set this up however you want and get some very interesting bending. So in this case, I would probably want it right around there. Great. That's basically it. So now you take your control here, constrain the paper into the character's hand, and you can just animate that and animate the flapping right through there. Done. Now, the nice thing with these types of deformers is that you can layer them in. So let's turn off the curvature for now. I'm going to take this and I'm going to add another non-linear deformer. Let's add a twist to it, just for the sake of it. So a twist, what does this do? Well, it twists the object. So if I change this here, you can see it'll start twisting the object. In this case, this is not the way I would want to twist it. If I'm holding it here, I want it to twist this way, like that. So along the direction that I'm holding. So once again, just align this the way you would want to line it up to the object here. So let's go 90 degrees there. And now if I twist it, we get this. There we go. With this, I can twist it and then bend it, and I get that motion. Now, we're gonna get some weirdness here, where you can see how that bending is like waving through here now, which is kind of cool in its own right, but that's gonna be hard to animate. Why is it doing that? It's doing it because of the order that it goes through. It's going through in a hierarchy. So it adds the bend first, and then it adds the twist. That's the order that we added these objects in. So essentially what's happening is if we turn off the twist here, it's applying the bend first, going all this way, and then twisting that around, which that's not going to twist quite right. What we want is the twist to happen first, right here. So twist, and then from there we bend it. That's going to keep things working correctly for the most part. So how do we do that? Well, we could just delete all of the deformers, reapply them. Great, done. Yay. But what if we did a lot of work on this? What if we got all of this set up just right and I don't want to set this all up again and redo them and put them all in the same place, and what a pain. Well, there is a feature in Maya that a lot of people don't really realize unless you're a rigger or like deal with it quite often, is that these operations that you do, so we added a bend deformer, then a twist deformer, all of these things, they can be rearranged in Maya. So we did the bend first and then the twist. We want the twist to happen first. To rearrange this, take your object, right click on it, and then I always forget where it is. Go to inputs, all inputs, right here. So this is going to list all of your inputs. The inputs are basically all of the commands that are going into this object. We've got our twist and our bend. And what I can do is just middle mouse drag these and rearrange them. Right there. So now twist is happening first. So if we look at this now, we'll see if this worked. Twist should happen first. So let's twist this and then bend it. There we go. Now as it twists properly. There we go. Yeah, and it goes from bottom to top. So the first commands are at the bottom, the latest commands are at the top. So there you go. So if ever you do something out of order, you can typically fix it here. Sometimes it won't properly fix it, but it's a good just in case kind of thing. So we've got our object, and honestly, that's all you'd need. Refine it a little bit more, get that twist to happen in just the right spot, or get in this case, the bend to happen maybe a little bit more in the corner here, whatever you need, and you're all good. You can animate that paper getting moved around, and once again, just make sure the twist handle that we added is in the control here. Everything moves around with. Now, there is another issue, and that is, this is kind of a pain to animate, isn't it? Think of it like from an animator's perspective. We constrain the object to the hand. Okay, now I want to select and key some things. Well, I don't want to select the deformer. I don't want to select these. They're in place, they're good. Don't want to deal with those. Well, I could go to show and turn off deformers. Great. Now I don't see those, that's nice. But if I want to animate this, I select the control, move it in place. Okay, great. I need to animate the bend. Okay, select the geometry now, go to bend, go to curvature, tweak that. Okay, now I need the twist. Go to twist, maybe go in here, switch that. Okay, oh shoot, I need to switch the bend again. Go back in here. See how that's getting kind of tiring? It's kind of annoying to have to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth like that. That's not super fun. So when I'm doing stuff like this, one thing I like to do is just add extra attributes on the control that I'm going to be using. I want to be able to control the bend and the twist. So I'm going to take this control here. One thing I do know is I'm not going to scale it in any way. So I can right click on these and go to hide selected. That reduces what's in that list there, makes it easier to see what I need. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to modify, add attribute, and we're going to call this bend. And I'm going to make this a float. A float is basically a free number. It's decimals, whole numbers, everything. So that's basically a regular control. So we'll add that bend there. Now, technically, that bend should only go from 0 to 180 for a bend deformer. It only goes to a certain amount. I don't really need to worry about it too much here. So we've got our bend. Let's add another one, twist. And it's going to be a float as well. Add that. There we go. Now, I want those to control the bend and the twist on the two deformers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Windows, General Editors, Connection Editor right here. And I want to connect the inputs from the NURB circle on the left side here to something on the right. So I'm going to start with the bend handle. I'm going to take my bend handle in here, not the actual geometry, but the handle itself, the actual deformer. And let's reload the right side. And I'm looking for the actual curvature and low bound and all of those. So let's see if I can find it here. It might actually be in the shape node. So I'm going to go to display, shapes, and select that. I always forget where it is on here. Okay, there we go. So curvature right there. Now actually, what is that connection here? Okay, so it's the bend right there. So what I'll do, I'll show you how we can select that. Let's remove this. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my object, or you could select the deformer, and I want this bend node right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select it in the attribute editor and hit focus. That selects that node. And then I can reload it there, and I should see it here. So let's see. I can take my bend and set it to control the curvature right there. Then let's take our twist right here, focus on that, reload, and which attribute do I want here? Twist, start angle. Let's see, oh, that's the bend still. Twist, handle, reload. There we go, start angle. So the twist is going to control the start angle right there. Now, let's see if this will work for me. Yeah, I think I connected this to the wrong one. Reload right, curvature. Oh, I know what happened. Let's select this. I accidentally connected it to the low bound, which I think probably reset something here. Okay. Let's show the deformers. Yeah, I accidentally tweaked something. But essentially, what I did there, yeah, you can see there's no low bound, which is kind of weird. I broke it by accident. So let me just undo. There we go. So bend should control the curvature. And then, oh, I know what it is. I'm connecting it to the wrong curvature. Okay. Let's see. Where is the right curvature? So it's connecting it to this one under the handle shape instead of this one. Let's see. This is the fun part about connecting, is you have to find which one's okay. There you go. It worked this time. So I just had to connect it without connecting it accidentally to the other control. There we go. So start angle again. Now I can just take this. Let's hide the deformers. Boop. And now I can bend it and twist it right there and animate it all right from here. So that's essentially it. That's how I would make just a quick piece of paper that I can like wave around and get a little bit of animation on there without having to go super in depth and crazy with it. And you could add multiple bend deformers so it can bend one way and then another way, back and forth. So if you have kind of a stick that you want to wave around, you can even set it so that you can animate the rotations of the bend deformer. So if I take that bend handle here, I can always just rotate it, and that's going to adjust how it bends. So I can animate that aspect of it. You can do all sorts of things with these. So can you stack bend with each other? Yes. So you can stack multiple bends if you want.